working on HACCP Form 5A, and this is part 2. We have listed our ingredients in column 1 for the product that we're working on, and we've gone through the reference hazard database to identify what were the associated hazards with the different ingredients that we're working with. At this point, we're going about and deciding what are the appropriate risk profiles on the ingredients, or on the hazards, sorry about that. So we decided that Norwalk virus was a reasonably low risk rating on frozen banana puree. I should put the frozen here. Chemical. Would undeclared allergens impact on sensitive individuals? Now again, this risk profiling is partly a thought exercise, but if you were working in the real industry, you would think about what are the sort of supplier controls that my supplier is going to have in place. Are they using a good agricultural practice certification to make sure that agricultural workers are not going to be cross-contaminating the product? Are they coming from a GFSI certified supplier where they're going to make sure that this sort of cross-contamination is not going to happen? Whereas if you are buying something at a farmer's market and you do not necessarily have control over the quality and the nature of the product, you may decide that it's going to be a higher risk profile. Again, we are doing a thought exercise. I don't want you to agonize over this. We're going to indicate low here. For our chemical contamination with mycotoxins, well, note, mycotoxins are more prevalent in apples, peaches, pears, and berries, and not so much in bananas. You are within your right to indicate that you feel that something is not appropriate. Chemical contamination. Yes, are pesticides used on bananas? The nice thing about bananas is that they are peeled, and so again, we feel this is going to be low. You want to go through, and again, I'm not going to be overly critical of how you define this because again, it's a thought exercise. But think through what you would be doing in industry. You would be thinking about what is the context of the supplier that you're working with, what are the sorts of normal process controls in place to prevent this sort of thing from happening. So once you've gone through, again, I'm just giving you a few examples here, but you want to go through every ingredient and every hazard that you've identified from the database and give it a risk rating. Then from here, you want to go in and identify, let me just check my time here. Oh, I've got lots of time. So I need to ask the question, does a GMP control this hazard? So, for example, would we have presence of virus in our banana puree? We have to ask the question, where would that virus contamination come from? Well, it could be coming from the supplier, where the suppliers, food handlers, again, viruses get into food by infected food handlers. So, do they have a personnel hygiene program to ensure that food handlers who are not well are not working in food contact environments? Secondly, do we have that? Do we make sure that our food handlers are also not ill? And so we think about the context, and we think about what are the opportunities within the HACCP programs that we're going to work with. I think most people are going to likely be working with HACCP, but again, there's an automatic 10% bonus for people who choose to work with SQF. So choose wisely, and again, if SQF or also if you want to work in BRC, you're welcome to do so, and the manuals are available for free, and feel free to contact me if you're not able to access those manuals. If you are going into HACCP programming, strongly consider doing SQF or BRC unless you're going into the meat industry, just because it's going to give you a better portfolio in the long run. So what do I need to do? I need to be going in and asking the question, which element of the program is going to cover off those hazards? So thinking of it, we talked about how it could be a product receiving issue, so section B, but it could also be a personnel hygiene issue, section D. So section B purchasing, receiving, so B21, I like to use the search function, B21, and then it will help me jump down. So B211, the establishment has and implements a documented purchasing procedure to ensure food products and food animals are safe to consume and meet regulatory requirements and prescribed standards. So we could have a standard that we have for purchasing, or we could identify within the certificate of analysis or letter of guarantee or product specifications that indeed our product has come from a facility where they have a good personal hygiene program. So we could put in here B211. So yes, that hazard is controlled there. I also mentioned that you could say that it was D211, and that was a good food hygiene program, and that would include hygienic practices and personnel health status, so that when an individual is known to be ill, they are not going to be working in food contact. So, going back to our HACCP form, D211, you're going to start to see patterns consistently. So, going to our next hazard, so we've filled out a GMP for the biological hazard here. Yes. Stop, continue to the next hazard. So now we're at the chemical undeclared allergens impacting on sensitive individuals. So going to the HACCP program, do you remember which section is allergens? Well, that's going to be your G program. So allergen control program is G11. And let's just go in and dig into each of those elements. You could argue that it is B211 and make sure that incoming product meets the standard that you require. But it could also be G112, where documented procedures and policies related to purchasing of ingredients are developed to ensure proper control and identification of allergens for incoming ingredients. So you've got in many cases you may have a variety. Oh, Jeremy. Jeremy's not showing up. That's all right. So you may have a variety of different approaches or plans of attack. G112, if I recall. So start to look for patterns. You are well within your right to take advantage of these patterns and not have to research everything brand new every single time. Now, we decided that this toxin here, mycotoxin, is not relevant, and so we do not need to answer there. Going down here, chemical contamination from environmental contaminants, pesticides and herbicides. Is this B211? We ensure that our purchasing procedure indicates that we will only purchase produce from suppliers that have a GAP program. It's really up to us. Or do we go back in and decide, is it in the G program for product control? Let's scroll back up here. It's really up to us. Is it G21 or G211? The more you have, nope, that's going to be brittle glass. G212 is going to be X-ray metal detection. So it's most likely going to be B211. Again, the more you dig into this document and are comfortable referring back in, the more quickly you're going to be able to get this done. So we will argue this is a B211. They must have a GAP program. Oops. Next one is contamination from non-food chemicals. So you could argue that is an issue with the supplier, but it could also be an issue with the chemicals that you are storing, so a B section, or it could be relevant to your sanitation program to make sure that sanitation is done completely and there are no residual chemicals